Ahoy there, me hearties! This be Captain Silverhook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank.
Anyways, welcome to the Two Old Pirates. This is Eric.
Hey, I'm Vinny. What's going on?
And it's episode, he sounds real enthusiastic. It's episode 102. And,
is it 102?
It's been a long time, man.
Christ.
I don't ever do these anymore, really.
Now,
this guy's still pumping out 2-3 episodes. He's live every single, 2 or 3 nights a week. And I'm lazy. I have not done this. But we are coming up on our 6th season in late October. We're going to have some new stuff for you. But let's talk MAGA.
Of course, man. It's election season coming up.
Elections coming up in November, and we have ex-President Donald Trump, who wants to be the 47th president, running against Kamala Harris, who wants to be the 47th. And what happens is MAGA has taken over when you think Trump or the Republican Party. Yeah. It's Make America Great Again.
It's like an inseparable.
Yes.
He did the hat. He did the.
So I decided the other day. That where did MAGA begin? Because we know that it's like at all his rallies and stuff, everywhere that you go, you see. Coming into Rockport today, I saw an area off to the side of the road where there's 5 or 6 vendors, and it said MAGA stand or something like that, and they were just selling everything: flags, T-shirts, hats, and it's become a very profitable business for some people. But I was like, where did it really come from? And so I look back, being a person who teaches government and enjoys history and stuff, and the first time that I really ever saw it was this clip in 1980 by Ronald Reagan.
That's why I'm running for president.
Only one man has the proven experience we need. Ronald Reagan for president. Let's make America great again.
For those who've abandoned hope, we'll restore hope and we'll welcome them into a great national crusade to make America great again.
So if you thought that was unique, 44 years ago, Ronald Reagan had used the same slogan, Make America Great Again. Check this one out in 1992.
I ask you to join with us today, to give me your hands and your hearts, to give me your prayers and your help. I believe that together we can make America great again.
Bill Clinton, and he used
I did not
Make America
inhale.
Great Again. Now, of course, they didn't publicize it the same way that Donald Trump has.
They didn't campaign on it.
Yeah, they didn't. They just used it like Make America Great Again. But the thing is, so I went back a little bit deeper. And in 2011, Donald Trump, being on The Apprentice and stuff like that, and being this huge star, had been asked, do you think you'll run in 2012 against Barack Obama? And he kind of sniffed it out a little bit. He's all, no, I'm not going to, but I don't rule out ever running in the future. And so that was in 2012. We know that Obama won again. He published a book, and it was called Make America #1 Again.
Yeah, it's
#1. So MAGA had not taken off yet. And then in 2015, after it had taken off, he had the book reprinted in another publishing
second
thing.
version.
And it says, reprint changed to Make America Great Again, because he was all like, it's a good catchphrase. So do you want to tell them the story about the people here in Texas that started the first MAGA presidential campaign?
So I didn't know this, and I live here. But in 2012, I assume in anticipation of Trump perhaps running for office in 2012, some people in the state of Texas organized like a PLLC, like a third political party, and they called themselves the MAGA Party. It literally Make America Great Again. And I'm like, that's like 3 years before he started going around saying that. And it's like they.
So he, since he had said different things along the lines like that, they said, hey, if we make a third political party called MAGA, maybe he won't run as a Republican or a Democrat, because he had been a Democrat until in his 50s or early 60s. And then he became very more conservative, it seemed. And so they said, well, we've already got all these other people possibly running for the Republican Party. Why don't we make the MAGA Party, and he'll be a third party, and we've never really had a third party person win the election, but maybe we could get this. And during that time period between 2012, when he announced as a Republican person that he had run the Republican candidate, he had switched to the Republican Party and said, I'm going to be Republican. And so that party just sat, I guess it's probably still there, sitting on ice as the MAGA Party for a third party for somebody to run for the United States Senate or the House or the president.
But no one's going to take it up because
you
they're
can't
not
win
going to win.
Party. No,
the Green Party, Jill Stein never won. Ross Perot had the best shot and he never won. Nader never won.
No, and so it was set up for him if he wanted to dive into politics in 2016 to have his own official political party that's attached to him. But he knew, as a smart man, I can't win with a third party, so he went with the Republican Party. So by 2015, the trademark, but only for political reasons, to be able to say "Make America Great Again." He missed out on capitalizing on all the sales that you've seen that have gone on. Yeah. So the hats and stuff, some of them he was able to get some of the money from, but there are a large amount of people making money off of Donald Trump. So MAGA is born, became the slogan and the symbol for the staunch Trump supporters. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, who's married to Ivanka, said that he believed that around 2015, 2016, they were making about $80,000 a day in sales of just the red "Make America Great." Not the shirts, not the flags, not bumper stickers, just the hats were being sold through his company, and they were making about $80,000 a day. And he said that helped fund their run for the 2016 election. So then I started thinking about, well, if it's not the MAGA from Reagan and not the MAGA that Bill Clinton said, and what was MAGA really? What was Make America Great Again? And this is kind of the definition I got, so I wrote it down. It says, meaning to its followers that America once was a great country, but has lost its way in its status in the world. They believe it can be restored with an American first policy. Also with Trump being an in-your-face person and saying things that they agree with but have always been afraid to say in public because they could get in trouble or fired, and now you have the leader of your party and possibly the country saying things that they believe in. Other politicians are more reserved. Also, people that do not believe that the media is 100% truthful with us and that we need to go ahead and use our own minds and not have to worry about what's being read off of a prompter to us. So this is a group of Americans that were kind of sick with Democrats, Republicans. They wanted something new and fresh. And in 2015, when he announced, it was a bonanza of things that he said and did that I was shocked over and over and over again. It's just as an American, I'd never seen Democrats or Republicans act like this. Before we go into the people that he made fun of, do you remember some of the things that he said when he was running for office? Each time when we say something, I, as just a regular American, said, that's it, he's out. Because every other presidential nominee up to then, if they said these things, it seemed like they got flicked and kicked to the curb. It's just like it's over for them. And I think the people that are running for the Republican nomination that we're going to talk about in a second probably thought the same thing, and it just never happened.
So, I don't remember the timeline of it. No. I remember things he's done. Obviously, the go-to one is whenever he was making fun of the reporter who was disabled, and he did the he even did the thing. Yes. He even did that.
Yeah.
And then
and so when that happened, I remember I was talking to my sons, and I was just like, it's this Donald Trump is going to go back to The Apprentice or something, because people will be offended by this, and there's no way that he'll get it. They're going to kick him out, basically, because you can't make kind of fun of a reporter that's kind of
he had
disabled,
he has palsy or something,
and in the polls he went up.
Yeah.
And I was like scratching my head doing, I've never seen this before. This is like a new thing. The one that I remember is when he was talking after some of these things had happened, and he said, I could take a gun and shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote. And I was like, dude, it's over. When you say you're going to shoot people and stuff, and he went up in the polls.
And then he did, again, I don't remember the timeline, so I don't know when this had happened in relation to everything else, but he was at a convention or a speech or a meeting.
One of his rallies. And that's the other thing that he had rally after rally after rally.
All over
so it was
the
like
place.
something to look forward to when most people
say.
It was
like a tour.
Yeah. It was like a rock and roll tour.
It was like going to see Van Halen or
I've
something.
seen people that have said, I've seen him 80 times. And I'm like, dude, that's not even like the Grateful Dead. So what were you going to say?
But there was a heckler or somebody was making noise, and he said, throw that guy out, remove him from the whatever. He said, get him out of here.
Yeah.
And he says,
back
in my day, we would have roughed him up or something. He would have beat him up.
And then he's all, if you do that, I'll pay the lawyer's fee. And people heard that, like, this guy's sticking up for us. And so they fed on it. It was almost like I don't know. It's almost like throwing something in with piranhas, and
it's just a frenzy.
There was a group of Americans that at the beginning of this that were looking for something, and every single thing that he said and did seemed to really resonate with them. Whether other people didn't understand it or not, it was for them, and they felt every single day more and more closer to this person. And so he gained in notoriety. Now, at this point, he was not going to win the presidency, most people thought. They thought he would make a little bit of a run, and then he'd probably go back to TV or just being a billionaire.
Yeah.
And what happened was, in the 2016 election, you had more people come out on the Republican side ever before. On the Democratic side, we had Hillary and Bernie.
Just two
and
people.
they had their own like little bitty thing going on, right? But that was just one-on-one. On this one, I'm going to give you a list of the people. These were all Republicans who were noted Republicans that decided to throw their hat in the ring against the other Republicans that were also well situated, and then a billionaire TV reality star. And we all know how it turned out. John Kasich. Ever heard of him?
Yes. Wow, I haven't thought of him in a long time.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
He was a governor of Ohio. He lasted about 5 seconds. And then Ted Cruz, our senator from the great state of Texas.
The guy with the ugly wife.
Yeah. And at one of the debates, he turned to Ted Cruz and said, "Look, this guy's dad helped assassinate JFK. He's got an ugly wife." I had never seen anything like that. So when you take about the other things that he did, like shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue or making fun of a person with cerebral palsy, I was like, there's no way. He's on national TV calling his wife a dog.
I just want to say...
And he got better the next day. So if you're a MAGA, or if you're somebody who's like hardcore Donald Trump, you know what I'm talking about. Every single time that he said something that was even more outlandish, people were like, kicked him in the ass.
And that's a slam.
And see, some Americans are like, men don't talk like this anymore. Politicians are like cookie cutter, and they go by what they're supposed to say. They have a certain tie, and they have a certain... And then he was just like, you suck. No, you suck. And people were like, yes, yes.
He does suck.
He was like he wasn't a politician, and that's what really, I think, attracted. It was like a magnet to steal. People were like, that's my guy. He speaks for everybody else. He talks like how I would talk, and he's not this like perfect little... Marco Rubio's the next person.
The guy with the water bottle. The two hands. With a little...
Remember? He called him Lil Marco.
Lil Marco.
So he's up there doing, Donald, you did it. And he's all like, listen, Little Marco. That was it. It was over.
He had a name
It
for
was
everybody.
over. He just ripped his soul out. Ben Carson. Ben Carson was a neurosurgeon, and nobody had ever really heard of him. He ended up serving for Trump in Trump's White House. The one person, since I've studied a lot of politics and stuff, that I thought would probably get the nomination before all this storm happened, Jeb Bush. You might sit there and say, what? He didn't have a chance in hell. He was a much, much more intelligent person and a much better speaker than his brother George W. Bush, who became the president.
Please clap.
Jeb Bush was a much superior politician than George W. Bush, and he got his ass handed to him because I remember, I'll never forget, he was at a thing, and it wasn't like a Trump rally with 20 or 30,000 people. There's like 18 people, and he's all like, and he told a joke, and he's like, "You're supposed to clap."
Yeah, he said, please clap.
He's all, please clap. That was a joke,
clap.
and nobody clapped. They didn't get him. He didn't have the personality. And when you have this other guy saying, "Hey, listen, your wife's as ugly as a dog," or "Shut up, little Marco," and stuff, so quick. Chris Christie,
oh man,
the heavyset guy who was the governor of New Jersey.
Big guy, you got to vote for him twice.
Yeah, he was the one. He dropped out pretty soon. Carly Fiorina, he's the one. She's a female on the stage, and she's the CEO of Hewlett Packard, one of the biggest computer companies in the world. And he said something about her looks. He's like, "Can you believe anybody would ever date this thing?" And I was like, Donald Trump ripped so many souls out of people on those debate stages. Little Marco, your wife is ugly. Hey, look at this mug over here and stuff. I mean, like, he didn't care because I don't think he thought he was going to win. He didn't care, and that's what drove so many people. They're like, holy crap, he's talking like we would. He wasn't like prim and proper. He was like, the Donald was there, and the Donald was not effing around. Okay, then you had Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky. His dad, Ron Paul, had been in Congress for a long time. He ran for president multiple times. Then you had Mike Huckabee, the governor of Arkansas, which his daughter's now the governor of Arkansas, and he was a big-time Baptist Christian, I believe it was, and he was talking about what we need to do about church and stuff like that. But the thing is, these people all had treads. They all had like something. They weren't just some random guy off the street. They were governors or senators. You had George Pataki, the governor of New York. That's a huge state. None of these people could get any traction. Lindsey Graham, a longtime senator from South Carolina. Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana. I believe he's from India. His family's from India, so he would have been the first Asian person to become president. You had all these people, and they're just dropping off. You had Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin. He stood in there for a little bit. He had to drop off. Then finally, you had Rick Perry, our governor of the state of Texas. Old Rick Perry. And he dropped out pretty soon also. Now, some of these people did end up in the Trump White House and work for him. And half of them were probably gone within a month and a half to 2 months. And then I think the last ones that were really, really around were Rubio, because of Florida, and Cruz for Texas. And the rest had kind of all dropped off. Their money dried up, their support dried up, and they just kept on pushing and pushing with what they had. And Trump, every single week, got more and more powerful. Another state would come in that he'd win, another state that he'd come in. And then Rubio would win one here. They're like, Rubio, I think, won like Puerto Rico. It's really not worth a lot. And then Cruz would win like Alaska. But then Trump would win Ohio and get all those extra delegates and stuff. And by the end, it was clear it was going to be Trump. And now he was put into the spotlight of, you're going to be the person representing the entire Republican Party for the United States and to run for president. And I don't know if in the beginning he ever really wanted to do this until he got too deep into it. Yeah. And then he kicked everybody's ass. Well, at the end of the day, there's a certain number of delegates that you have to have. Yeah. And so he got to that number because early on these people were like, we can't compete with him. So they started dropping off. So they never got any delegates. So by the end, it was just Rubio, Cruz, and him kind of fighting over whatever was left. And so many people by that time had turned into what we're now calling MAGA. That they were like, we're not going with an established Republican like Ted Cruz or established Republican like Marco Rubio. We're going with MAGA. And although he's a Republican, he's a different form. He's like Republican on steroids. And he took the nomination, and we saw that he won in 2016. And this is part one. We're going to have maybe 2 or 3 parts of this. I'll come down the next time that I can, and we'll do part 2 with how MAGA went through 2016 and won the election and shocked the world. And we'll explain how shocking that was on Election Day, where nobody had him in any polls winning. And yet he's still in the history books as the president from 2016. He shocked the world. I shocked the world.
45.
I shocked the world. Muhammad Ali. I hope that you enjoyed episode 102, and we'll be back real soon with episode 103 so that you're not hanging by, off a cliff. Like, what's going to happen? I don't know what. By a moment here with I don't know what happened in 2016. So
I have amnesia.
So we'll get that to you real soon. And I did want to say thank you to everybody who watched the short podcast I did over my dad in World War II. That made me really, really happy. I know that it didn't blow up like 10,000 views, but just anybody paying attention to, because it just meant a lot to me that somebody paid attention to this story about my dad in World War II, because once it's over and it's gone and those stories aren't told anymore, then they disappear. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed it. For Eric,
I'm Vinny.
We're the Jewel Pirates.
Peace.
Peace. Season 6 coming up, suckers.